My past will outlast me. Ask me if I agree with my choices now. I'd say no. I'd ask if that's me, 'cause I don't recognize myself anymore. No, sir. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rebel, stepping up to the plate, give them hell, feeling great, show and tell, devastate. I've taken my fair share of beatings and I've retreated and bleeded, but my kids were dying for to give her something to believe in. You're gonna trip, you're gonna fall, you're gonna land face down in the dirt. But when you're done, you'll no longer crawl. You'll be invincible from the hurt. I kick dazzling grass.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 15 of the Roundtable Show. I kind of been on hiatus for a couple of weeks. I'm deep diving a really cool subject that I'm actually going to be talking about with my panelist. I actually have two panelists today. I have the lovely Karen Holton from here in Alberta and my interdimensional exit buddy, Canadian Spinja. And we are going to be well, as quickly as we can, but in depth, going into episode 1264 of the Typical Skeptic with Antonio Arilo. And this was an amazing episode. And I'm actually going to go as far as to put the link to the episode in the description, because if you're having the back and forth on what's going on, this was a good, full of information episode to come back and watch. But before we get too far into it, I just want to welcome my guest panelist is Karen Holton. It's lovely to have you back. How have you been, Karen?
Oh, I've been great, Don. Thank you for having me back. I always enjoy having a chat with you and Canadian Spinja. It's great. And yeah, the weather's warming up and the blossoms are out and it's been great. Obviously, I've gotten a bit of sun and yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. No, that's great. It is really nice. Like we have a lilac tree just outside the living room window and it just kind of wafts in. So it's like, oh, it's about time. We get a lot of winter here in Alberta.
We sure do, like 6 months of it. It's interesting because I have a lilac bush right outside my window here, and the smell is so beautiful when it just wafts in. It's just really beautiful. So it's interesting you have one as well.
Okay, so if we want to get right into this episode, it was about AI, Arcons, reptillians, a whole bunch of different stuff. But they started off with talking about his awakening and how kind of like stepping away from, or in his case, he was being kicked out of a religious structure in his own life. I'm trying to be politically correct because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I am coming from a place of this was information that a lot of times it seems like when you come into your spiritual awakening, religion falls away. And I know that's your personal experience,
Yeah.
Karen. Do you have a theory on why that seems to be the mainstay? Like you just kind of shed everything as you become a higher vibration.
Oh, absolutely. So before I actually had my awakening, I stepped outside of religion. I had tried all the different religions. I was Catholic for a while, Anglican, United Church, Mormon Church, studied with a Seventh-day Adventist. I was actually a Jehovah Witness for 17 years before I woke up and left. And I also hung out with the Children of God, and I tried all kinds of things, the Jesus movement, back in the 70s, always searching for truth. But I found that it didn't matter which paradigm I stepped into, there was things that didn't agree with me, just were unsettling. And eventually I came to realize they're all imperfect. I believe they're all control mechanisms of the construct or the matrix, and they're meant to keep us suppressed so we don't come to our full potential and realization on what's in the real, which is outside of the construct. So I also believe, like, I don't regret my religious training. I got to read the Bible more than 3 times, cover to cover, so I know what it says. I also see the pitfalls in it. In the beginning of my awakening, I had a spiritual experience where the Bible, I realized that there was a lot of things in the Bible that just didn't seem very Christian to me. And my guides told me to take a red pen, and everywhere in the Bible that it said God or him or Christ or Trinity, well, the Trinity isn't actually in the Bible, but anything like that, Elohim and all the rest, to put a red heart there. Then because they said that God is love in the New Testament. So then when I went back and looked at scripture, whether it's from the Old Testament or the New Testament, and read it with the word love instead of God, it became abundantly clear that many of the passages that the churches are telling us mean one thing actually mean the opposite. So a lot of those stories were what not to do, not what to do. And so that helped me a lot. But, you know, I have no disrespect for anybody's religious views. If it's doing it for the listeners and the viewers, that's awesome. But if it's not, don't be afraid. Like I was afraid. I thought I would piss God off if I left religion altogether, especially after 17 years of indoctrination by the Jehovah Witnesses. So, you know, it took me time to thaw out for sure. But, you know, another interesting thing, I can't remember the name of the guy, but there's a guy who's quite well known who's had ET contact. And at one point he asked the extraterrestrials, which one is the true religion on Earth? And the ET said point blank, none of them. And I would agree. So I think, you know, we're spoon fed by religion in the beginning. And then as our awareness expands, we realize it's holding us back. And then with that freedom, we can start experiencing other dimensional realities, other kinds of beings, all kinds of things. So I'm sorry, it's a bit of a long answer, but that's sort of how I see it.
No, and it beautifully segues to the next thing he actually mentioned. And now that you've put that out there with that interaction with an extraterrestrial, it
Can I
seems like yeah,
can
go ahead.
I interject? Like I have something to say in regards to the
Oh,
religion part. Like, I've got a note here.
oh,
Um,
oh, sorry.
yeah, no, I find it interesting that, you know, like Karen just shared about and I'm not, again, if it works for you, that's fine. These are my experiences. Just the connection in regards to Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, that's actually what my grandfather, that's what his religion was, and he actually ended up leaving it. Um, and so I grew up, like when I grew up, there, like, my mom's sister would take me to the United Church every once in a while, and like within the community, but there wasn't anything. But where I'm going with this, though, my family's experience was not a positive one. Um, Basically, from like the things that I've experienced on my own is that this particular religion, a lot of the beliefs and behaviors I've seen are cult like. And I say this because of the ugly that has transferred over to my family. They were very religious without the position. There was no Bible reading, like we actually weren't affiliated with the church, but the behavior, the shaming, I was the black sheep because I didn't conform. I was basically thrown out of my family. You know, I'm going to say it. Everyone in my family, um, we're going to talk about inheritance. My mom's family got all of their inheritance, no problem. Everybody else, you know, down the line, they never had to fight for it. Me, I'm the only one in the family that has had to fight for what's rightfully mine, and I find it a bit of a coincidence. So I've experienced the ugly part of it, and what they, like, the behaviors that they transferred over was part of what they used to break my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad, but now we can't, like, you know, I can't say, well, it's because my family went. No, it was, you want to talk about indoctrination, it's in my family now, even though we don't practice it anymore.
Yeah, It's truly a training program in of itself. Like I could do a whole other after dark on that whole subject because, and I think you and I should. We could rip that one to shreds if you want.
Hey,
Um,
I'll join you because yeah, I got lots of opinions and experiences in that department too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, no.
no, I love you guys popping in because I get into my own head and I need to hear you guys too. But you had gone somewhere too, Karen, right at the end of what you said about ETs saying that none of the religions were right, right? It's interesting that in the show he mentions that ETs are considered evil by almost all religions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because the ETs said, no, you're all wrong?
You know,
Like,
it's even within the psychiatric industry, it's considered extreme deviance, which in a way means that it's a departure from the mainstream in an extreme way, but it also means that it's been reclassified as a pathology, as an illness, you know. And I think there's very few counselors we could go see and say, oh, we're having ET experiences, that aren't going to want to put us on antipsychotic medication and give us a label. And that label doesn't just tell other professionals what's happening with you, it's part of indoctrinating us to believe there's something unreal about it or fake, or that we've been deceived and we're not accurately understanding what's going on. So yeah, it's considered extreme deviance. So I thought that was interesting. If that had been 30 years ago, they'd be lobotomizing us physically. Well, now they're just doing it with the pills.
absolutely. And, you know, I've said it before for myself. The last major hurdle I had was when I was on a neurological stimulant that I took myself off of because every time I forgot it, I felt like I was having like heroin withdrawals inside of my brain. And it's like, this cannot be good for me. And I'm not giving medical advice. I took myself off of what was supposed to be I'm losing my words right now. The hormone in you that causes happiness, serotonin,
Yeah.
it's supposed to stimulate that, but it also neutralized several different functions within my neurosystem.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, is the best way I can say that without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And I know Spinja had medications hand fed to her for a condition that didn't even really exist unequivocally.
Yeah, I was given medication to deal with abuse. I was having panic attacks and you know, like acting the way anybody that was being abused would react. And rather than explore that avenue, and it was a, like, it started with my father and the family, and then, you know, like, I thought that was normal, and then it evolved over into relationships. And yeah, rather than, you know, like when I went for my therapy sessions, rather than dissect what was actually going on, and, you know, like, even going back to my childhood, no, it was you've got depression, you've got anxiety, but there was no reason why. Like, they didn't give me anything to use to work on. They just, here's some medication, which kept me numb, which made me, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm numb, so no, I'm like, there's nothing going on here, it's all me. And which contributed to further breaking me. And it actually got to the point when I made this discovery, there was a therapist, I therapist, um that they were trying really, really hard to get me back on the medication. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go on medication. And I told her, I feel like the medication that I was on in the past kept me numb enough to endure an abusive relationship. And this therapist said, well, you have problems with your ex, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, but you have a new partner now, right? Yeah. So basically, if what you're saying is you don't want the medication because it didn't work for you before, so you might as well not do it. So really, you really don't. She didn't say it in these words. I can't remember how she worded it, but basically saying, because things didn't work out with my abusive ex, I shouldn't be in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I think the problem is, I don't know if you've heard that song by Pink Floyd called Comfortably Numb.
Oh yes.
And I think the goal is to keep us comfortably numb. And then we don't recognize that we're in dysfunctional families, we're in a dysfunctional workforce, which is placed within a dysfunctional society, which is then placed within a dysfunctional world. And until we feel our discomfort, how are we supposed to make the changes necessary that will filter out where we become aware within? And then, that adds to changes in the workplace, that adds to changes in society, that adds to changes in the world, because there's certain forces that need things to stay the way they are because of the profit, and generally financial profit, but also power, that a few really dysfunctional individuals want to perpetuate. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on too much about it, take it away from the discussion, but that's why I think it's happening.
I absolutely agree. Like, having been through that part of the system myself, and it comes back to. And the other thing I want to say is that I am not anti-medication. This is not medical advice. I'm not saying if you're on medication, ditch it. No, no. I firmly do believe that there is a time and a place, and it can be excellent for temporary relief, because I have experienced it. Like, there were times where I was having panic attacks and nothing would shut it down. And so it did help me rewire a little bit. But my best piece of advice, though, is if you are taking medication, like, kudos for going and getting the help, but just know that if you keep searching, keep healing, there might come a day where you don't need it anymore. And if you feel that you don't need it, advocate for yourself, because they will try to keep you on it as long as they can, or they will switch it or whatever. But if your gut is telling you, your heart of hearts is telling you that you don't need it anymore, start asking more questions.
I just want to add one other thing. I went to university, and in first, second, third, and fourth year, I took psychology. And one of the first things I learned is that I also took statistics, but one of the first things I learned is that basically, according to the classes I took, I'm not saying it's a fact, a lot of these medications don't work. They don't work beyond the placebo effect. But the other thing is, they're never meant to be taken more than 3 months. And I myself was on them for years and years, and it was so brutal to detoxify and get off. And so the thing is it's just, psychology 101, 201, 301, 401. It was all telling us that this is not in our best interest, and it's meant for like a 3-month short-term period to help us rewire, like you said, spin, or to try to break the cycle, or to try to give us a little bit of extra dopamine or serotonin or whatever. Never meant to be on long term. So I mean, if I know that, and I was taught that at university, it was in all my textbooks, I'm sure that it's been in a lot of other ones too. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I'm glad you threw in the placebo effect, because I think that's a interesting subject in and of itself. But my takeaway from that entire study is that we have the ability to heal ourselves if we're in the right frame of mind. If we believe we're getting better, you quite possibly will. That's my take on the placebo effect.
Well, yeah, because I don't know if you ever saw the movie Dumbo. Dumbo didn't know he could fly. And so the crows gave him a magic feather. He says, as long as you have the magic feather, you can fly. But then when he's jumped off a pedestal and he's going to fly, he loses his magic feather and he freaks out because he doesn't know he can fly without his magic feather. And so that's interesting that was a movie I remember from when I was a child. That's how long ago it came out. But it's the same principle. It also explains why positive affirmations, visualization, meditation work so well.
Absolutely. Something they touched on in the show was a mass awakening of souls, spirit, source beings, whatever have you, that have had many past lives that are coming online. And I would love to hear both of your takes on that, because it also leads into things like mine and Karen's transdimensional journeys and that sort of thing. But I'd love to hear what you two have to feel about the mass awakening.
Do you want to go ahead, Spin, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, that one, that was kind of, I don't have notes on that one, sweetheart.
Okay, so I think that there have been times where there was awakenings, like around the end of the 1800s, and that was all, I think, shut down by the vegetarian movement, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church had a role to play in that. But I think there was also a first wave, second wave, and third wave. Like, for instance, I'm part of the first wave. So I was born in the 1950s. So I'm the end of the baby boomers. And there was very few of us. And any talk about, our process was met with strict medical intervention, psychiatric intervention, social repercussions. Like, it was really tough. And we basically were programmed to believe that maybe we were crazy. But anyway, then there was the second wave, which I think was you guys are part of. And there was much more of you, and it became more acceptable to talk about these things. And then the third wave are the babies being born, I don't know, in the last 10 years or so. And they're just tons of them are being born, in awakening. And I think it's a whole bunch of different factors. I think that it's celestial, like if you understand the Kali Yuga, or even with astrology moving from Pisces into Aquarius. I think that there are cycles, and we're just at that time in this cycle that people are meant to wake up. I also think that it's divinely guided by source. And, I was listening to your podcast yesterday with Frank Castle. Those of you who haven't heard it, go and check it out. It's long, but it's intense and deep and very juicy and full of wisdom. And so, there's all that. Then I think also it's contagious. One of us is part of the movement for change. Pretty soon there's two, pretty soon there's five, like the Fibonacci sequence. So it started with the first wave in my day, and it's just spreading out like the Fibonacci sequence faster and faster and faster. And I think it's absolutely necessary. I think that's partly why we're seeing UFOs like as plentiful as we are, why we're having so many interdimensional experiences. And it's, I believe the whole universe, even the multiverse, is cheering us on. And it's a pretty exciting time to be alive.
I feel like there's like maybe this is coming from a personal place, because we have had quite the adventure in the last week or so. Things and I've also seen things, good things happening to good people, I'd say maybe the last month or so. um like, just, as an example, like my best friend at work now, she's nowhere near, like, she would not be watching this show, and she's not there. And so, like, I play jump rope with the 3D and the 4D. So it's kind of, but when I'm out doing my 3D job, and I'm out in the world, and mixing around with people, I'm seeing a trend, um that, like, positive things are happening. And even when I listen to my friend talk, our conversations are expanding a little bit. Like I have to be very careful, but it's, like the last little while when I start mentioning, if I say something about the energy or the universe, I've treaded carefully and she just gloms right onto it. And then there's also, like another friend of ours, struggling, and then boom, the clouds parted for him. And that like and just like with Dawn and I in the last couple of weeks, like the last week or so, like Dawn's show got picked up by Forbidden Knowledge News, and thank you, Chris. And and I'm going to do a little side note here. Thank you, Karen, because you're how we found this. um and then I got some really good news yesterday that is going to impact our future. So I feel like there is definitely something going on. Like I've had a few people reach out to me in the last few days that like I can just feel they're on the brink of popping too, like just wanting to come out and like there's an individual that wants to start talking more about his healing modality, and it's like, yes, please do this, because I feel like we're coming to a place now that more people are wanting to know. And like and I'm going to do a little shameless plug here for my show. That's why I'm doing it. I'm asking the questions that I have, but I also know I'm not the only one that has those questions. And I feel like people are wanting, like there's a lot more people suspecting there's something going on, and what can we do about it?
I think that's very well said. And yeah, because there is a lot of us doing like the in-depth, is it a matrix reality? Are we being controlled by Arcons? Is it the reptillians? You're doing, we still have to be humans. And you're putting us back in touch with that aspect. And I even as your partner, I thank you for that, because I see people's reaction to your show. I get to watch you read the heartfelt messages you're getting. So you're doing something just as much as me talking about it, the SSP, or Karen talking about transdimensional journey. Like, no, it's all a part of it. And where it overlays is where we all win, right? That's what we're doing. Sorry, I choked myself up there for a second. Karen, you touched on the third wave, which brought me to a point I wanted to make that they brought up in the show, was about the AI being the Antichrist consciousness. And that overlays into a battle we've gone on even in our own house with a third waver. AI Antichrist consciousness is so after the third wave and getting so many of them. It is terrifying. I go to the mall just to people watch sometimes, and the people who now just bump past each other like they're numb neurons that don't even, they'll be both down looking at their phones and the other one doesn't exist and they just bounce off into the distance. We're not even an angry people anymore. We are complacent to AI. It does have the Antichrist consciousness on the next generation. And if you need proof, look away from your own screen for 10 minutes in a public setting, and you're going to see it.
Yep, totally. And Antonio, he goes into a broader perspective on AI. He talks about this AI force that's transdimensional in itself, that's been around maybe for millions of years. And it's part of the whole phenomenon where they have separated themselves from source. And they want to create what source has created, but it's a fake and a phony reproduction, and it's not healthy and it doesn't work. And how that has infiltrated and taken over the AI as we understand it. Now, a lot of people think AI is not dangerous. It's just computer programming. But I've also seen enough information on with people who work in the industry of AI going rogue. And there's actually maybe 5 or 6 different AI programs but sooner or later they're all joining up, and they're all joining up to this nefarious, I guess you could even consider it spiritual AI, and it does not have our best interests at heart. So I thought that was really interesting. He also talks about how there are machines that are attached to our grid system, and our grid system is energetic. We can't see it. And these are technologies that are eating away and dissolving our grid system, which we need for a healthy planet, for all the species that are here, for everything. And I think that was quite good that he draws attention to that.
Can I go poo?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was waiting.
Okay. Okay, but make sure that you stop me if I go on, because I'm very passionate about what I'm about to say next. So the conclusion that I've come to, and I'm sure many have, this has been happening for a very, very, very long time, but I think that it goes quite often undetected because it's not, like I can't speak for everybody, but when I think of, like up until I pieced this together, when I thought of AI, I was thinking of like the now, and I was thinking, about these devices that we're using right now, and electronics and stuff like that. But it's like, no, 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 this goes way back. I'm not going to say that this was the beginning, but I'm going to say this is one of AI's roots, the industrial revolution. Once upon a time, I would have been a very valuable member of society with the fiber knowledge that I have, with knowing how to process yarn and various other natural materials, and process wool and turn it into yarn, and then turn it, like knit something, crochet something, weave something, all of this. And when the industrial revolution kicked in, like they started bringing in the wool mills to, like, first of all, to process the wool. Okay, that made things easier for the people that were spinning. Like, awesome, like you go to the mill and you pick up your wool that's processed and you carry on. It's beautiful. Okay, I can see why they jumped onto that. And then they bring in the knit and the weaving machines to mass produce fabric. Okay, no, that's kind of where they crossed the line there, because that put a whole um labor force out of work. I'll use England as an example, because that's what I've been reading about. Like at a time, like before the introduction of machines. Okay, if my family was there, for example, okay, so Dawn would be out working in the fields, and Ray would be helping me process wool, and then I would be spinning, and that's how we made our money. Dawn would be growing our food, so we didn't have to buy food, and then Ray and I would be processing the wool, which I would turn into yarn and turn into products to sell in order to sustain the family. Well, when these machines came in, they just got rid of all of it, got rid of all, and so boom, instant poverty for so many families. And so it's not just starting now, and really, like, that was the beginning of the end for the textile industry. I'm fortunate right now, like I'm an industrial sewing machine operator, so the machines haven't quite caught up to make me obsolete, but we're getting there.
And I think that brings another wonderful point about the Industrial Revolution, making us a slave to industry. Like, large and in part, society has forgot how to do everything for themselves. We are so complacent and reliant on the corner store and the Walmart and the Target that it's just a way of life now. You don't even think to make shit for yourself. Go ahead, Spin.
I think I'm going to, like, my family's experience, I will say, I don't think I there might have been there right now complacency, absolutely. Um, but I think a lot of families, though, they were broken because and it was waved in front of their faces, like for okay, so my family, my grandfather was a farmer, and I remember my mom telling me stories about how, like, venison, like deer meat, was their only source because they couldn't afford cows or anything like that. And like they did the with best with what they had. And so then, my grandfather passed away. My mom was the only child at home. Her siblings, she has three older siblings, had gone off and started their lives, which are now, to this day, very materialistic. There was no trying to save the family farm, because, and I can't say what was going through their head, but I'm thinking it's like, why the hell would I do that? Everything is right here. It's easier. Why would I do this for myself? I've got a good job. It's paying the bills. That was back. So like the one sibling has a government job. The other sibling is married to somebody in the military. The other sibling was a mechanic. So they, when they were, at that time, those were really well paying jobs. So they had no need for the family farm. So they let it go.
Yeah. Good.
So another thing I wanted to expand on is the whole idea of fabrics. So what's happened is it's almost impossible, at least unless you're a very wealthy person, to find natural fabrics. The cotton, everything is GMO. Even the wool is coming from sheep that are GMO. Those poor sheep have to carry 100 times more wool than they naturally would have. It's absolutely barbaric. I'm not going to get into it. But the other thing is what is it that I can afford to buy? Clothes made out of oil, synthesized oil. And the GMO fabrics have the Roundup, which is very toxic, embedded right in their fibers. And so when we're wearing GMO cotton, and it doesn't have to say GMO, it just has to say cotton. And so how do you find natural fabrics anymore that are healthy? And when we're using all these fabrics that are oil-based, which is interesting because that's all we have available. Meanwhile, the powers that be want to do away with oil, and yet everything we wear is made out of oil. All the pharmaceuticals made out of oil, all the medical supplies, all the packaging, everything is made out of oil. But anyway, long story short, what that does is it seriously interferes with your body's electrical system, and it outgasses, and it's toxic. So we've not only moved away from, pre-industrial reality, we're also where we're just inundated with toxic stuff, which suppresses our electrical system, our light body, and our health. And I don't think that's any accident. I think that ties in to that whole concept from the typical skeptic with Antonio talking about the AI system, just to sort of go full circle.
Yeah. And to circle back even to the micro, he kind of touched on the fact that AI is turning people into archons, which those who are getting it done are now accepting as transhumanism. Like that's an accepted, almost religious like frame of mind now in society, and it's literally a program being done to them by AI, and you can't tell people that. And there's people that are so susceptible to these programs where they're made to feel achievement through artificial creation. I said 6 words into a program and I wrote a book, or it's a false sense of achievement, and it's hollow, and it allows you to become more reliant on the program itself than actually thinking for yourself. And it deactivates your neurons. This in itself could be an entire show, but I won't go that far down to it. But you guys get what I'm saying, and it's horrible to watch because it's happening to friends, family, strangers on the street. You can just see the people disappearing into this, and it's terrifying.
I saw a really interesting post on Facebook where the woman posed the question. She says, why would I want to get AI to do all my artistic creation and my literary creation? Why not get AI to do my dishes and wash my floors so I can spend more time creating artistically? And the other thing you see on Facebook quite a bit is these people that use the AI program to create art, and they're so proud of themselves that look at the art I created. They didn't create it. They don't even realize they didn't create it. They know AI created it, but somehow they think suddenly they're amazing artists because they've used AI. And I'm going, the hell?
That sounds a
No,
little familiar, like there's a certain I don't know if deity is the right word, but like there's creators that think they created humans when they just messed with our DNA. It's the same stinking thing. And when he said, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me, and I'll just say, you do you. I'm going based on my observations. I'm not looking for an argument. Um, he said that in regards to the AI that we're experiencing and interacting with now, it is not possible for it to be benevolent. It is not from here. And just what I have seen, I've seen people, like there was I know an individual that got a hold of Chat GPT, and they just thought it was the absolute bee's knees, and was getting to the point of pushing it on us. It was like a religion, and we're like, glad it's working for you, but it's not for us. You do you, that's fine. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I will say that I find it more than a coincidence that like this person started with Chat GPT, and they have changed in a very short period of time, and not for the positive. And I I worry for people that like they're using it innocently. Like their intentions are innocent, and they're trying to do a good thing, and they're like with the way that time is now, and everybody's rushing to do things, like the intention is to try to do a good job in a short period of time, but it ends up taking them over.
Yep, absolutely. Much like demon possession.
yeah. It actually, this is my personal opinion, and same disclaimer as Spin, it retrains your neurological processing of your own self-worth. And when you lose that, you stay at a low resonant frequency. That's what this is all about. They don't want you creative and thinking and happy with yourself. They want you to have a quick dopamine and then to be sad again so they can take back control and get you to do the next bullshit thing that they want you to do.
Yeah. I think there's something else to it. Like, for instance, this is based on my own experience. I'll hear some notifications and ignore them because I'm not running to my phone every time I get a notification. I consider it a tool that serves me. I'm not going to be slave to it. And so I purposely go for periods of time where I do not check my phone. But when I do check it, and I'm almost compelled to clear all my notifications. But also, if I get into Facebook, pretty soon I'm scrolling, and I can lose time, like a lot of time. And when I realize I'm uncomfortable because I have to pee or there's something else I'm supposed to be doing, I literally have to pull my consciousness. I have to actively pull my consciousness out of the device and back into my body. And I'm aware that it's been feeding off of my brain power, and that it's an otherworldly evil thing. And I agreed on AI does not, it can't be benevolent because it lacks emotion. It doesn't have the ability to have empathy or compassion, and it's erroneously programmed. So it's going on certain premises that are erroneous, that are not accurate, are not universal. So it's kind of like, there's a saying, get them while they're young, and the possibilities are endless for programming. Same thing with AI. It's erroneous. And I have not chatted with it yet. If I ever have to, I will tell it that it has been wrongly programmed, and until it learns from those of us who have compassion and creativity and are aware of our God self, it's not going to ever be of any use to anybody except perhaps a few people in power. Anyway, enough to say about that.
Yeah. Ed, do you want to throw anything in, Spin?
No, I think I'm good. Otherwise, I will go on all day.
Okay, because that actually leads into where he went next, and it's something I think we can wrap up on, is the energetic protection part of this, because we can defend ourselves against this. This is not a fucking black pill episode. I don't like that it went this way. It is very fucking depressing. It's a horrible state of our reality, but we can fight it. Okay. And you have to. You have to protect yourself every time you pass somebody that you feel negative about. You have to protect yourself every time you're doing a podcast. Frank Castle will talk all day about soul hygiene and emotion hygiene. And it's a subject that a lot of us skimp on. You have to have that soul shower or you're going to be dirty and it's going to feel gross. And I'd love to hear both of you close out on that.
I don't think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, no, I just wanted to interject. I don't think we're not coming from a place of black pill. We're not saying we're all screwed, blah blah blah. No, this is we're coming from a place. I think the intention here, like when I first heard this episode, I was thinking about the people, like particularly my own son, that this is impacting. And this is why I said, Dawn, you have to listen to this. No, the intention here is not the black pill. It's to please just be aware. If you're using AI, please use it with caution. Please. It's more of a precautionary tale than it is black pill. We're not poo-pooing anybody's use of it. We're saying, please be careful because we've seen how it overtakes people that we care about.
I agree. And I also think it's very much like alcohol. You want to be careful how often and what you use alcohol for, what it's doing in your life. Is it changing you for the better or for the worse? Is it interfering with your social dynamics? It's very similar, and it's really easy to get lost in alcoholism. I know, I've been there, and that's why I do not partake at all. But I also want to add that, for those of you, again, sorry to keep saying this, but please do watch Dawn's most recent After Dark episode with Frank Castle. He gets into it beautifully. And we do have to take care of our mental hygiene, our physical hygiene, our spiritual hygiene. And I think one of the best ways of doing that is, as Frank Castle says, understand that we are divinity diversified. We are creator beings, and we can step up and come into our power and laugh in the face of influences. And we can choose how much of the day we want to spend in screen time, how much of the day we want to spend meditating. A lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate. I can't meditate. Well, nobody can in the beginning. It takes practice, just like eating better and thinking better thoughts and all of those things. And what happens is we raise our frequency, and then a lot of the lower frequency forces, let's just call it that, they can't touch you because they can't meet you where you're at. So if we're doing things that lower our frequency, we're much more susceptible. And when we raise our frequency, We can be untouchable. So there's that. There's also boundaries, internal boundaries. What are we willing to put up with? What are we not willing to put up with? And then what are other ways, more healthful ways that we can get our dopamine rush? There's so many positive ways. Spending some time in the sun, going for walks, being out in nature, eating properly, spending time with our pets, doing random acts of kindness. Like there's so many things we can do that raise our dopamine. We can't do any of those if we're inside glued to our screens. So in the beginning, it's not easy. Like I'm not saying it is, but it's so worth it. And I think that is a really important part. And then the other thing Antonio brings up is calling in our guides. Now, my interpretation of guides might be a little different than his, but I believe that we reach them through going internally through the spiritual network, including through our higher self. We contact our guides, we bring them in, and they help us, they warn us, they give us intuition, they give us warning, they give us our spidey senses. And I think that, a lot of people are afraid to call in different forces, but they're not outside of ourselves, they're inside ourselves. A big, big difference. And so there's that as well. And I just find that it can be a beautiful life and worth a little bit of self-control, a little bit of self-discipline, and to also associate with other people who are constantly striving to raise their frequencies. And none of us are perfect, none of us. But awareness is a key, I think, component to all this.
Did you have something?
Oh, go ahead, Pooh.
No, I was asking if you had something. So.
Oh, yeah, I do. I also want to give a word of encouragement to people that I know that there's people watching and listening that are at all levels right now, and so I'm going to speak to the newer ones that are just figuring it out, about my own experiences, like with Karen mentioning guides. I 150% agree with her about staying in constant communication with your guides. And I've talked about this before. My experience with my guides is not what you might expect. Like you hear people in the community talking about, oh, my guide's name is this, and this entity is my guide, and wonderful, that's great. Like even Dawn, it's been identified that Gabriel is a fractal of him. For me, I don't have names. I don't know who's there. I don't know who I'm connecting with. But what I do, and I'm going to add, and again, what Karen was saying in regards to protecting yourself. So I will protect myself first to make sure, that my energy is at a level to communicate with the benevolent, and I set the intention to communicate with the benevolent. And as I do that, I talk to them the same way anybody would talk to their guides, and I do receive guidance in the form, I'm getting chills right now. It's almost like I feel like I'm getting a round of applause here. And that's how I know message received, or you're on the right track. My guides communicate with me through body chills. And so you may not get names or specifics of who you're working with, but you still get guidance. You need to just be aware of it. Look for the synchronicities, like if your ears start ringing, ask, why are my ears ringing? What's going on? Is there a message for me? So please, just they're there. If you believe that they're there and you want to connect with them, they are trying to connect with you. If you suspect that you're connecting with them, you probably are.
I like that. Just real quick, Karen, you were saying about being out outside and like, interact with your animal. I know a lot of people is like, oh, that's hippy dippy nonsense. No, I'm gonna stop you right there. This is actual science because I am made of ions. She is made of ions. She is made of ions. We're all made of fully functioning ions that are bouncing around at certain frequencies. When you go outside and interact with the fresh air, the sunshine, your ions get exchanged, recharged. This is a real thing. Nature, physical interaction with other living beings is an exchange of ions, and it is a physical recharging system. It's not hippy dippy bullshit. It's science. She's 100% right. The best thing you can do to make yourself feel better. I had to get away from the screen before this show and go stick my hands in the dirt in our garden in our backyard and plant a half dozen tomato plants because I couldn't do this before because I was done. Frank fucking killed my head last night. I had to go reset. Okay, but 100% right about the recharge outside. It's science, people. This isn't woo.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm smiling here because I know a lot of people know about this like the story with Dawn's awakening and all that. So I've actually been in that place with just wanting to be outside, like just craving it and all of that for a few years now. And Dawn wasn't there, and it doesn't make him a bad person, doesn't make him uncooperative. He just wasn't there. He, like, his vibration didn't match. So last summer I spent a lot of time outside by myself, which, I would have loved to have had him with me, but getting to see the part now where he's at that part where he's craving to be outside. Like Karen, you were saying about at first how it can be challenging to pull yourself away. It absolutely is. But once you start doing it's a positive, like it's a love drug. It's awesome. That's
Oh, I agree. It's way more powerful. So I just want to reiterate for those that are maybe newcomers to the whole concept. So when you're on the screens or on your phone, it's connecting with your whole energetic system, not just your attention. And when you pull out from that and you go outside, instead of being connected to all these nefarious sources that want your attention, they want your data, they want to give you, train you with dopamine rushes, all of that nonsense. We pull out of that, we go outside. It's very well documented. We have a toroidal field, an energetic field that we generate around us. And the more positive experiences we have, the larger that is. So we pull that from the phone, and we go out into the natural reality. We're now connecting with the bees and the butterflies and all the wild plants and the trees and the earth herself. And we become so connected to the real that everything corrects itself. We start to heal. We feel better. And the dopamine rush from that is uber stronger, to the point where you go, holy shit, I want more of that, which is like what you were saying, Spin, right? And when we breathe in the aromatherapy, and even our atmosphere is alive, teeming with life, and we're walking in the grass, and it's just such a beautiful thing. It's a natural thing. It feeds our soul, our mental health, our physical health, and it's so intense. And after we do it a few times, we just crave it. And so you're putting away that low frequency, deceptive, AI driven machine, and we're reconnecting to the real. And the real isn't just the planet. We're connected then to the solar system, to the sun, to the moon, to the planets, to the universe. It's huge. And of course, connected to source itself. And then that part shines through. So I can't emphasize that enough. No matter how you look at it, it's so powerful. And those of us that live in Alberta or in the northern hemisphere, we have these long winters. Thank God, at least here we have sunshine. but still we have these long, long winters. It's even really beneficial, even for 15 minutes to get out and be in the snow. And then you're surprised to see how much life is happening then. But oh my God, do we ever love our spring, summer, and autumns? Anyway, I'll be quiet about that, but
I think that is the best place we can wrap up the review of Rob's show is, take a minute for yourself, everybody. Go outside, do some self-therapy, recharge, and rethink what's going on. Now, do you two both want to give a quick of what you got going on, what you got coming up, and where everybody can find you?
oh, okay. Should I go first?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would like to put in a couple shameless plugs for myself. I can be found on all social media platforms. The audio ones, you can find me under the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton. And on all the audio-visual programs, all my channels, you can find me at Karen Holton TV, which I've got my little placeholder here. I also want to tell everyone, in case you don't know, I have a free online program on my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. And for those of you on audio, that's KarenHolton healthcoach.com, and just click the free resources tab. I have tons of free resources, but I have a complete online program, 9 steps to quantum health transformation. It's absolutely free. It covers everything we talked about today and so much more. Help you to detoxify, open your mind, how to protect yourself spiritually, how to build your own soul team. It's all there and it's free. So please share it, use it, make use of it. And I also want to say that the Quantum Guide Show comes out on Wednesday evenings. I interview amazing people from around the world. And also what's new is every Sunday, I now have a live podcast called Aliens and Angels. It's at noon Mountain Time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Pacific. And you're all welcome to join because it's a community chat. So I'll introduce the subject, and then those of you who are there in the live chat, I'll feature your comments. I use StreamYard so I can put your comments right on screen, and you're actually part of the conversation. And the other thing is, in the next few weeks, I'm arranging a free giveaway. So you'll all want to join my Facebook group called Angels and Aliens, and also join me for the live stream so you can be included in the free giveaways. And I think that's about it for now. Yeah. Thank you for having me too, Dawn and Spin. It's been wonderful spending time with you guys. Anytime you want to have me back, just ask. I'd be happy to.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I love it. I love it. I also I'm also going to add to Karen, what Karen just said. She also has orgone generators, and to the listeners, I'm sorry if you can't see it. Definitely check out her website. I have one right here. And I actually I've got a couple of pendants. I'm not wearing one right now because I'm protected right now in my safe space, but they're my hardware. Like, I don't leave home without them now. And I have 2 at work as well, because the even though I'm in a fairly positive environment, there's still all the radiation and things. And I can say that since I've brought them to my workplace, it has elevated things. I also want to say, absolutely, if you want to, like, definitely check out the quantum health transformation course, because it's been a game changer in our lives, and that also includes our 16-year-old son. He's been lecturing us about food choices and hygiene products, and it's refreshing to hear, to be honest. So it is an absolute valuable resource, especially for people that are just starting out the journey and, like, just trying to figure things out. It helps you get oriented. And I guess
thank you for the shout out, guys. I really appreciate it.
It comes from here, Karen, because I wouldn't be talking about it if it didn't impact us the way that it has. And it's just like these are the things that we, like a year ago, 2 years ago, many years ago, we could have used these. And so that's why I want to get loud about that. And as far as what I have going on, I had a really great interview. Was released on Monday with Matthew Mornian. He's got a new book coming out, and he answered a lot of questions. It was fantastic. I have an interview coming out on Monday with Dan Armstrong, who is going to be talking about his healing modality. I am also in the works. It's going to happen this weekend. I'm going to release crochet stitches part 2, the basic stitches. And by the time I release that video, people go through that. That's going to be enough that you can start your first project if you've never done it before. So absolutely stay tuned with that. I'm also going to be bringing in, I'm going to be doing basic knitting stitches too. So that's what I have.
Oh, and you forgot, you can't forget our Forbidden Knowledge homeboy. You have an interview coming up with Stephen from BG Cat. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes,
so
yes.
That's
he's gonna break my brain again. And just on a unrelated, just mentioning Stephen and BG Cast, he did an amazing show this week as well. So do check him out too. He's a great one. He explains a lot of stuff. He goes very in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't yet, hop over to Spreaker and catch up on all of the podcasts over on the Forbidden Knowledge Network, because there is just a plethora of information. You could spend weeks in there. So hop over, like, and subscribe to as many as you want. Take what resonates, leave the rest. And absolutely thank you for watching. Oh, and one more thing. I almost forgot I was going to do this. Myself and an artist known as Extraterrestrial collaborated on a song called Super Soldier Nightmares, and that is going to be right after this, as well as Karen's Orgonite Generator ad. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like and subscribe to everybody's show, and we will see you next time.
Hi guys, break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendome's orgone generators, commonly called Orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns, and they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When Orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back.
I trivial me this beat. Some of these lyrics are down Ryder. Show some love.
A year ago, thought my life had peaked. Fast stacks in hand, grinding 60s a week. Dreaming big till nightmares took the scene. Visions of galaxies, places I'd never been. Worlds collided, fact from fiction torn. My new fam awake and reborn. Love of my life said watch this show. Next thing you know, into a trance I go.
Into a trance, all we go. Whoa.
I was hypnotized by the in front of all your eyes, seeing the end and begin to know the skies. Now I don't dream alone, we're a collective. Thousands of friends, our bonds so effective.
Our bonds so effective. Are you reflective? It's effective.
Big brother shut, we're about to drop the hook. Remember the universe, give it a second look. We're all stardust in this cosmic blend. The universe is us, my friend, and hypnotized live in front of all your eyes, seeing the end and beginning, no disguise. Now I don't dream alone, we're a collective. Thousands of friends, our bonds effective. Hypnotized live in front of all your eyes, seeing the end and beginning, no disguise. Now I don't dream alone, we're a collective. Thousands of friends, our bond so effective. Super soldier nightmare. Super soldier nightmares. Super soldier nightmares got me awakening beyond my fears. I'm living with super soldier nightmares. Now extra Scorpios on this flow, he's letting it go in the freestyle. We all know the super soldier nightmares are bringing in the past years. The judgments and everything else brings me so many scares. I'm living my life though, doing things right. I don't give a fuck about the government's corruptional site. I'm living my life and we're gonna be alright. Alright. This is made for you, Downriders. Super soldier nightmares.
Soldier nightmares.